Hi, everyone. Today we are going to look at the very last rum of the Australian Advent calendar for 2023, which I finally got into. And we are also going to look at the strongest rum in the calendar, which is made by a brand called Nil Desperandum. And the name of this particular one is called The Road North, and it's bottled at 60.4%. And I think it's just a shade under or just over 4 years and under five. The actual age has never actually been stated. Now, Nil Desperandum is a Latin phrase harkening back to Horace's Odes and channels some of my old classical studies from back in the day. It means literally nothing to despair of or do not despair. Or in more colloquial terms for Australians, is like now Aries might, which might just as easily be the motto of the entire country, let alone the distillery. It is, of course, the sign that was hung over the bar in the original pub of the same name in Wombai from which the company got its name, which is kind of like a nice piece of historical trivia. Now, here's the thing. It's a brand. It's not actually a company because the holding company is called CAVU or CAVU, which in aeronautical terms, yes, I used to work at an airstrip back in my Guyana days called Ogle, and their CAVU stands, as it does everywhere else in the aeronautical world, for Ceiling and Visibility Unlimited, which is really kind of cool. It was started in 2019, just north of Brisbane, with a pair of pot stills that were sourced by Mike Hobson and Mike Conrad, and it is actually certified as an organic distillery. And they don't just make these various brands like Four Spirits or 4 p.m. Spirits and Sunshines and Sons, which we've seen before, but they also make Nil Desperandum, and they do bespoke bottlings for various people. So if you've got an uncle who's got a birthday, you can actually get a couple of bottles saying, Uncle Snoot, here's your shit. That's kind of nice. Now, they source their molasses from three different certified organic farms from around Bundaberg, and then they play around with the Jamaican style of muck and dunder and so on, and charge their wash with it to get a little bit more oomph out of it. It's a double distilled thing. So first of all, it's the fermentation is 10 days before the double distillation in the pot stills. So they have a 6,000 liter wash still called Maria, and then they've got a 2,500 liter spirit still called Sarah. And in the review that is going to accompany this video, I kind of go into the background of what those names actually mean. In any case, once it's done, they really liked what they got, and they decanted it into 2 barrels. 1 barrel made this one, and that's what resulted in about 131 bottles at 60.4%. So, what do we got? Wow. Right. Honey. You're getting honey straight off. White chocolates, almonds, and I really do mean that in a nice way. There's some dusty books, there's some peeling wallpaper, and it develops into something like a bit of a pastry thing, right? So there's pastries, there's cheesecake, there's key lime pie, there's fresh croissants out of the oven, that kind of thing, and a little bit of lemon zest to touch things up. There's also some sweet corn. You know that water you get from the tin when you crack one of them? There's a bit of caramel, there's a little bit of vanilla, some rubber and plasticine. And here's the funny thing, in most pot still rums, what you tend to get is the plasticine and rubber and waxy notes and all this turpentine and acetone shit. You tend to get that at the beginning, then that burns off, and then the fruits come. Here, it's the other way around. You get the fruitiness and the pastriness and all that nice caramel, spicy stuff first, and then it's just at the tail end that you kind of get something else. Now, the palate itself, and I've tried this before several times before I started taping here. It's really quite nice. All right, it's smooth, it's warm, it's got caramel, cinnamon, cardamom. That's pretty much the backbone that you're getting. It has a really nice mouthfeel. The 60.4% really handles itself well. It doesn't try to kick the snot out of you every single time. It's got red grapes, pears, some very ripe mangoes, bananas, toffee, and I have a thing for balsamic vinegar that's fig infused, and I'm getting some of that kind of sweetness here too. The finish is just long. It's nice. It lasts well. Damn, that's nice. So overall, it's a very good rough and ready rum with surprisingly few sharp edges. I mean, there's some, there's just not enough to derail the entire experience. And I particularly like the way everything kind of combines nicely into an overall whole that makes it for a very pleasing sipping rum. And for something that's sub 5 years old, that really is really kind of nice. Now, here's the thing that I do have an issue with: the price. Now, the Nil Desperandum does, in point of fact, have a club, a sort of like a subscription model where if you subscribe X amount of dollars per year or per period, I can't remember exactly what it was, then you have the right to buy some of these bottles from the distillery. Now, with 131 bottles, we're not going to see this in the West very often, but this thing costs 250 Australian there. And that means if we ever get to see something like that over here or in the West or in Europe or wherever, it's going to be quite pricey. And I think for a sub 5-year-old rum, that's tough. That's a tough sell, right? You can get a lot of very, very premium rums that are much older and made by established houses with greater reputations for less. But perhaps the rarity of this thing is going to make it go up in value. I really couldn't tell you. All I know is that it is my considered opinion that this thing is one of these really good Australian rums that everyone who can and can afford it should try it at least once. I think it's really kind of brilliant. Keep in mind, though, that the renaissance of the Australian craft distillery movement is really still in its infancy. It's less than 10 years old, which is why all the rums that we've been seeing in the calendars, tend to be around 4 to 6 years of age. You're not going to find very much that's older than that unless it's, let's say, from Beanley or Bundaberg or something like that, and they ship shit out to Europe all the time. But for something that's made by a craft distillery, for something that's 60.4% that presents this well at that young age, I think this thing is really kind of wonderful. And I really think if you possibly can get a hold of a sample or you can try it, by all means do that, because it really is worth it. It isn't one that should be missed. And if they do something else for the 2024 calendar or the one that comes after that, at least you can afford that one and get a decent size sample for something. So that's it for me today. The 2023 calendar is now officially over for me. I've reviewed everything that's in it. And it's been such an incredible experience. And I really want to say one last shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Rum, who have been so kind as to get this to me, to Steve McGarry, who muled it across, the Pacific to get it to me after the first one got intercepted by BC Customs and they sent me the empty box with nothing inside it. It's just like, give me a freaking break here. Again, 85 points for this one. I think it's a really nice rum. I'd like to see people try it, or if they have tried it, give me an opinion on it. I think I'm just going to finish my day here and we'll go from there. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.